Hey everybody, it's Comics and Culture. It's Brian. Doing some of my horror magazines. Starting out today, we'll do the Eerie Pubs, Myron Fass's organization. This is Weird from April of 1966. This was actually the second issue. I think it's like volume 1, number 11 or something. But it was actually the second. This was done by Bob Powell. He passed away right after that, or probably would have done some more work for them. But cool, gotta love that. The old. We'll move on here. This is December of 1966. Yep, sorry. Told in new, chilling, picto-fiction. They would basically keep that little blurb all the way to the end in like the 80s, whenever they finally stopped, I think. It's kind of funny. It was always the chilling new. Then we have next April of 1968. Carl Burgess was the editor on these. He actually did the first issue's cover, which was unfinished. Sort of went with still half penciled and half colored. They were trying to beat Warren Publishing to the punch. Both of them were going to come out with a magazine. Warren had been advertising in Creepy that it was going to come out with Eerie as a sister mag to Creepy, and these guys were coming out with a magazine they were going to call it Eerie. Maybe, going back, we could get into a ton of history here. And a lot of it I actually got from this book, so I should plug him. The Weird World of Eerie Pubs by Mike Hallett. But there's just great history and lots of good picks in that book. But anyways, they were sort of fighting to get to the stand first. And that's why there is no number 1 Eerie. Actually, number 2 is the collector's edition of Warren Publishing's Eerie. There's a tiny little digest size or what have you, number 1 that they only made a few issues of just to get something on a stand, and they ended up winning, and they got the name Eerie. And then this guy came out with Weird, but if you notice, he named his company Eerie. That's why these are called Eerie Pubs. So we don't know if that was a bang at Warren, maybe. Once again, I'm getting all my source material from the Eerie Pub book. Not perhaps all, but a good bit. There's also a great website for Eerie Pub stuff, and I forget its name, so I have to plug it a little later. Next we have October 1968. You gotta love this one. The wolf beast is down there. He's eating her legs. He's got one chewed up. The second he's chewing on. She's still highly indignant. She's upset about it. I think at that point she'd be passed out or something. She has no legs. But there's a Frankenstein kind of guy holding her, although he's got vampire ears. And there's a vampire running. These were like crack to my child self. It's a bad analogy. I don't chase crack now or anything. But anyways, I couldn't stay away from them. I mean, they were just so compelling. A werewolf, a vampire, the Frankenstein. What are they all doing here? They never made any sense, but I just had to have them. That was the thing. It's one of my favorites. This is February 1969. You got like the weird Igor Monster Man. He's got a monster in one vat. He's got a skeleton that he's already stripped the flesh of in another. And then he's got this poor lady. He's lowered her by her hair. I mean, these covers at first were just unbelievably graphic. Eventually, they started changing it. I don't know if they started getting in trouble from their distributors. But they started making like some of the gore more like robots. You gotta love her little heart's still there. See it? Even though the acid's dissolving everything else, her little heart survived. Thank goodness. I guess it can keep it beating just to keep the pain for a while. Next we have June of 1970. Sorry. You got the old vampire in the foreground with the pretty good girl art, and then there's like a beastly man in the background. Frankenstein's killing the only normal guy on the scene. And we'll jump on to August of 1970. Vampire, ghouls, werewolf, and at the top still, told in new, chilling picto-fiction. This is 4 years later. It's still new. It's still chilling. She's got the bugs, the vampire. It's just everything. Here we'll jump on to October of 1970. Actually, here I got two of those. We'll put the better one in front. Sorry. This little winged vampire beastly has grabbed her. He's taken the time to strip her top off, or at least rip it up pretty well before taking her up into the sky, you know. I love this cover. The art, you know, was never claimed to be, you know, EC or Marvel or, you know, but it's good and it's garish and the colors are always out of this world. And as I said, my teenage self, you know, I would get these at used stores. I was born about the time this magazine came out, actually, just a little after. But, you know, when I was young, my mom was a big romance novel, whatever you call them. And she would love to go to the used bookstores to get her new books. You know, reading was a big thing for her. And she read everything. It wasn't just romance. But back in those days, they would have boxes on the floor full of comics and old comic books and magazines. And luckily for me, my mom didn't throw them out. And I went every week with her. And of course, I still collect, but here we have December 1970. You got the little hippie monster on the bottom. He's got his bongos, and he's brought back his vampiric hippie ancestors there. They've chosen to carry their heads because, well, you know. Next, we have April of 71. These ones that actually look a little better, these were purchased from a German company, I believe. I should have figured that out before I did this, but I forget. But they were purchased from like a German company. They were from the Perry Roden books. Here we go. The German Perry Roden books. As we see, I learned right in here again. He gives you the cover titles of the original books and where he got them from. But I guess Myron Fass got his hand on them, and this is some really actually pretty good art. Although it has nothing to do with the stories inside. It still, once again, grabbed you, which was what all a book had to do. You know, once you bought it, you own it. So. Then we have August of 71. October of 71, still doing the Perry Rodens. Then December 71, we get back to the monsters. Zombies, vampires, monsters. And at the top, once again, you'll note told in new, chilling pictofiction. February of 71 brings us another Perry Roden cover, which is actually a really cool one, I think. They're like doing a dissection of some kind of beast, and it's just like, just gotta love the looks. Like, are you serious? Dun dun doo. Then we have August of 72. For some reason, the one beast has perhaps put the stake through the other beast, or maybe he's a ghoul and he's come across these beasts that have been murdered. You know, it's hard to say. Never had to make a lot of sense. Just had to look good. This is October of 72. Kind of interesting. You can see a lot of time he also had the Countrywide, the CWP at the bottom, but it was still Eerie Pubs. Myron Fass. Here we see, this is April of 73. And here I can show you an example, if I can find it, of how they used to just do things. You might look down here and you'll say, this little vampire lady with the bugs looks familiar. Wait a second, there she is. They've sort of cocked her sideways, changed her expression, put the stake through her. They would cobble these together many times. You'd say, I've seen this cover before. Why have I seen this cover? And why is because you have seen this cover. Alright, let's move away from weird. We'll go over to horror tales. This is June 1969 horror tales. Gotta love this. They are just chopping heads today. It's like Satan, I guess. He's got some alien or demons with him, and you can see some pile of unhappy heads down there, garish colored. And here, this is still when they were making sure there was plenty of gore to go around. No robot pieces here. This is for sure what you're seeing. Then we have November of 1969. You have the old witch doing a work. This is a steal from, of course, the old, brain cover from, what is it? An old pre-code, Weird Adventures, I want to say. Some of the guys who watch this might be able to help me. Cat probably knows, but the one with the brain in their hands. But anyways, that's blatantly a steal from that, but that's a great cover in itself here. Then we have March 1970 of Horror Tales. And now when you see the November 1970, you'll see another cobble. You see the Perry Rodin robot with the girl in acid who was on the cover with the other people in acid with the monster pulling the switch. Still, this cover was great, and it was years before I think I realized that I was buying the same stuff cobbled together because, I'd find them at different points and so forth. This is March 71. That floating alien beast sort of sucked up one of their friends here and moved along. Then we have Horror Tales, March 72. This is Horror Tales, April 72. That's the month I was born. Actually, that's the month and year I was born. So this thing was on the stands about the time I was there, coming out. That makes me happy for some strange reason. See, he's got a werewolf head in his hand as he's being staked, but he won't take his hand off the girl, just to stop that guy from putting a stake through him. Because come on. Then we have June of 72. Beasts Abound. And remember this girl? Doesn't she look familiar? She almost looks like the one that was picked up by that one Beastly and was flying through the sky but had her shirt ripped off. That's who she is. They just changed her around a little. Carl Burgess was great at this cobbling. This is Horror Tales, August of 72. I loved this one. I don't know why, but as a young guy, I loved this one. They have their little tiny vampire in a little beaker, and this comes from a pre-code too. But I just love this version. The garish colors. You get the little spider demon thing up there. And of course, they got a prescription for the stuff. They're not just feeding him anything. They're feeding him something that, they have a prescription for. I don't want to think that this is just anything they're giving him. February 73 Horror Tales. Once again with the bugs. The vampire's kind of like, look, it's me or the bugs, girl. And these bugs are actually tearing her. Look at this one's got her flesh in his mouth. These ones are actually like, we're not your regular bugs. We literally tear your flesh. That's how we get down. October 73. Got the woman over his shoulder and off he goes. December of 73. This is moving up now. August of 77. Special issues. November of 77. It's almost like the same. They weren't even trying now. Jump into February of 1978. That's the last of the Horror Tales. We'll jump over to July 1969, Tales from the Tomb. Look at this thing. This beast used to get me. He's got a couple under his feet. Anywhere he could put a person, he's got it. He's got them under his feet. He's got one in his mouth. That poor guy. He's got the girl he's chewed on so much that she's just hanging by literally. It's like one vein. He's stripped the poor bottom off this guy, but he's left enough that he can still feel it. They want to make you know he can feel it. He also looks a lot like the thing from Where the Wild Things Are. I used to think when I was a little younger, I'd be like, man, that's a mess. I'd hate to go to that island. Tales from the Tomb, June of 70. Tales from the Tomb, August of 70. Tales from the Tomb, October of 1970. I used to like this one too. You have the gravestones. Here lies Dracula. Here lies Frankenstein. Why they're in the lab, I don't know. The werewolf, who you would think would be the least able to have a cognitive thought running through his mind, is in control of all the machinery. I don't know, are they changing them? You know, like you could, is like he gonna suddenly be? Will he still have his bloodthirst as Frankenstein? I had all these questions. The questions were never answered. There was no story inside that coincided with the covers. Not ever. Tales from the Tomb, April of 71. This next one's kind of interesting, you know. Myron Fass, he got his art, you know, and you never could say he didn't get it. This was actually Enrique. They have it upside down, so you almost can't see it. It's backwards, like. But he went on to become one of Warren Publishing's famous cover artists. It's a little immature of him. I don't know where they got this from. Bought it from where he went to school or something. But the signature's there, but it's backwards. You can see they must have flipped the picture for using it. This is Tales from the Tomb, November of 72. And we'll try to do just a few more. We'll go over to Witch's Tales. This one I used to love, still love. Witch's Tales had some great covers. This is July of 1969. She is just smashing stuff. I mean, there's no rhyme, no reason. It's just a block that squishes flat. I mean, is she trying to make a paste? We don't really know. It's never explained, but I mean, there's pieces and just gore. And he's so happy about it. You can just say he is just thrilled. Smash, smash, milady. I don't know why, but there they go. Then Witch's Tales, February of 1970. I used to love this one too. But see here, there's not veins and blood. We have gears and robot pieces, so they've changed. They decided maybe, from the book I believe, or me, someone's decided that probably the distributors, you know, were saying, hey, this is getting a little too far. You know, we can't put this next to Mickey Mouse or whatever else we have up this week, you know, Richie Rich and all that. This is just kind of out of the league. Unless you want your stuff with, like, Playboy or something. Witch's Tales. February 71, the Perry Rhodan covers. April of 71, another Perry Rhodan cover. June of 71, another cool Perry Rhodan cover. Then August of 71, another Perry Rhodan cover. You have the robots battling with the people. Or maybe they're just more robots coming down, honestly. Here comes another cool Witch's Tales. This is May of 72. So this is, not really sure what's going on here. I don't know if the little headsman on the left actually cut Frankenstein's head off as he walked in the door and handed it back to him, or what. But that's kind of what they did. Here we have Witch's Tales, September 1974. She showed up in an earlier one. Try to go back, rewind, and you'll find her. I don't remember which came first. That was the thing with these as they cobbled together. Witch's Tales, November 1974. And then Tales of Voodoo, May of 1970. We won't do all the voodoos. November 1970. I love that witch. January 71, another Perry Rhodan cover. March 71, another Perry Rhodan cover. May 71. November 71. And here comes the head again. Remember the brain? Oh, how they cobble. December of 72. Then we go into Strange Galaxy. Little science fiction, because there was some science fiction going on. Another Strange Galaxy. Weird Worlds. Once again, the use of the Perry Rhodan covers. I love this next cover. You have the gorilla on the world. Giant gorilla on the exploding world. Did he make himself too big? We just don't know. Weird Worlds with the walrus. Weird Worlds. Looks like the same little guy. Then they put out some crime. Here we have Tales of the Killers. This was a pretty cool one. And then we'll finish it up here with the cover of Murder Tales, which is this one up here. I just happened to have come across the original art on eBay a while ago, which is very rare. As you can see, they cobbled a lot of their art apart, so it's surprising to find the painting. This was Bill Alexander, who did Peggy's Distress on the Planet Venus, an S&M book from the 50's, black and white comic, but sold through adult magazines. He did a lot of the covers here, too. Alright, everybody. There's Spangler. See ya.